podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
The Two-Footed Podcast is brought to you by EPLindex.com and our presenting sponsor, Liberty Shield. Liberty Shield is a VPN provider. A virtual privacy network allows you to go online, change your location, access things you're geo-blocked from, while keeping your data safe. So, as an example, if you are a UK expat and want access to BBC iPlayer to watch Match of the Day, or ITV Hub, or all four, will you get that message that says this content is not available in your location? A Liberty Shield VPN gets you around that block, allows you to watch whatever you want on those services, while also keeping your data safe. And it goes further than that. It allows you to open up Netflix's entire library by just changing your IP address. Liberty Shield is the #1 rated VPN provider on Trustpilot with 5-star ratings across the board. So go to libertyshield.com right now, use the code EPL25 and get either the hardware package or the software package. The hardware package is a router that you plug into your existing router, and any item you want to change the IP address on, be it your phone or your television, you connect that to the new Liberty Shield router. All other items can remain connected to your existing router. There's also a software package which is instantly downloadable to your device and you can get using straight away. Again, libertyshield.com, EPL25 for 25% off at checkout. We're also brought to you by Home of Hopcroft, a giftware and homeware company located in Scotland but shipping worldwide. Check out homeofhopcroft.co.uk and do check out the EPL Index and Anfield Index shops, which you'll find on Etsy. Use the codes EPL10 or RED10 for 10% off at checkout. And lastly, do remember to check out A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. That podcast is on this feed before every Premier League match week. And then the EPL Roundtable, hosted by Kevin DeVries, on its own EPL Roundtable feed. So just search EPL Roundtable in your podcast device. And that's out after every match week. Now, on with the show. What's good, boys and girls? Two-Footed Podcast. Today is Tuesday. It is the 9th of July, and it's raining. Delightful. Today is the first day of semi-finals in the two big international tournaments. In Euro 2024, we have Spain versus France, and in the 2024 edition of the Copa America, we have Argentina against Canada. We'll start with that one because they've already played in this tournament. In the first match of the tournament, Argentina beat Canada 2-0. Julian Alvarez and Lautaro Martinez with the goals. It was quite a comfortable win overall for Argentina. The first half was competitive, but second half Argentina went up through the gears and were quite comfortable winners in the end. Canada, though, they have improved. They went and they beat Peru in their next game. Then they drew 0-0 with Chile. And then in their quarterfinal, they overcame the odds to knock out Venezuela on penalties after a 1-1 draw. Venezuela had obviously won Group B, were looking quite good, had knocked out Mexico, had finished above Ecuador, and were favoured going into that game. It's a huge achievement for the Canadians to get to this point. Jesse Marsh, to his credit, hasn't been in the job long, but has done a really, really good job, especially in this tournament. I think his in-game management's been quite good. There's some very good players in that Canadian team. There's players that aren't as familiar. Obviously, Maxime Crepeau, the first-choice goalkeeper, he's from Portland Timbers. Dane Sinclair is from Minnesota United. The third-choice keeper is Tom McGill, who's at Brighton, but likely to leave. Defensively, they've got Alistair Johnson of Celtic, who's really good. Kamal Miller of Portland Timbers, Joel Waterman of CF Montreal, Luc de Fougeray, I think, of Fulham is an 18-year-old, but by all accounts, very, very highly regarded by Fulham. You've got Derek Cornelius, who's at Malmo. Bombito, who's with Colorado Rapids. You've got Richie Laria, who's with Toronto FC. Ali Ahmed, who's with Vancouver Whitecaps. Kyle Hybert, who's at St. Louis City. And then obviously the best-known defensive player there is Alphonso Davies, who is their captain, one of the best left-backs in the world, currently at Bayern, potentially going to Real Madrid. Midfield, you've got Samuel Piette of CF Montreal, Stephen Esteque of Porto, Ishmael Kone, who's now of Marseille, having joined during this competition from Watford, Jonathan Osorio, who's Toronto FC, has been there his entire career. 12 years, I think, now in the Toronto FC team. And Chonier of CF Montreal. Midfield, again, Esteque and Kone are the two that are best known. Kone is a big, big talent. Really big talent. And I think he's going to be vital for them, for the Canadian national team for a long time, along with Davies. And then in attack, you've got Theo Blair of Motherwell, Russell Rowe of Columbus Crew, Schaffelberg of Nashville, he scored in the last game. Tajan Buchanan, really exciting wing player, plays for Inter Milan. He got injured earlier in the tournament, pretty nasty one. Liam Miller, formerly of Liverpool, he's at Preston. Oluwaseyi, is that how you say it? He's of Minnesota United. And then the big two are Kyle Larin and Jonathan David. And Kyle Larin's had a really interesting career. Was at Orlando City, moved to Besiktas, then fell out with everybody at Besiktas, moved to Zulte Waregem in Belgium on loan. Fairly certain they had... Didn't they have Sado Berahino there around the same time? Let's see. Yeah, they spent a year together at Waregem. But Kyle Larin's always been a really good goal scorer. He moved to Club Brugge, didn't go well. He went on loan to Valladolid. He had a really good loan there. Mallorca bought him last summer. It wasn't a great season for him, but he's still only 29 goals in 72 caps for his national team, which is, I believe, their record. I think he's their record goal scorer. He is indeed. He's obviously a good player. Jonathan David then is the star forward. So your three stars in the squad are Davies, Kone, and Jonathan David, who is going to pass Kyle Larin quite soon. He's got 27 goals in 52 caps, and he is 5 years younger. But, I mean, you look at the numbers he puts up for Lille, and it's really consistent. At Ghent, he got 14 and 43, 23 and 40, and since joining Lille, 13 in 48, 19 and 48, 26 and 40, and 26 and 47. So he's a consistent goal scorer. Very good player. I think he'll probably get a move this summer. But with those three, Davies, Kone, and him, like, the Canadians have something to build around. And Fugere is very highly regarded as well in defence. I'm sure there's others. That they've got coming through the pipeline. Jaden Nelson, who's a winger that plays at Rosenborg, he's highly regarded too. And obviously Tajan Buchanan, who's only 25, is another one that I think will be, certainly for the long haul, he'll be part of that team. So the Canadians are on the rise. And this is a great outcome for them, getting to a semi-final, taking on Argentina. No pressure on them, because no one expected them to get this far. Not sure they were even expected to get out of the group, given Chile were in there. Now it's the ghost of Chile, but still, I think the Canadians have done really well. But they are running into an Argentine team that are really good. Like, they're really, really good. And they're chasing three major tournaments in a row. This group of players have been together now a long time. They won the Copa America in 2021. Then they won the Finalissima, where they beat Italy. 3-0 at Wembley. Then they went and won the World Cup, absolutely full of confidence coming into this tournament. They know what they're about. There's quality everywhere. Emi Martinez is an excellent goalkeeper. Behind him, you've got Franco Armani and Geronimo Rulli, who I'm not sure should be in the squad. I don't think he's that good. I would have said someone like Juan Musso of Atalanta would be a better goalkeeper than him. I think Walter Benitez is a better goalkeeper than him as well. But it doesn't really matter. Dibu Martinez is one of the best keepers in the world. Defensively, I think Romero's incredibly good. I think Nahuel Molina is as good a right back from a defensive point of view as there is. You've got Gonzalo Montiel as a backup to him. Left back, I don't think they're as strong. You've got Tagliafico, who's good, and Acuna, who's good, but I don't think either of them are at their peak. I think they're both past their best at this point. Centre-back, other than Romero, you've got Lisandro Martinez, obviously, Otamendi, Pizzella, and Lucas Martinez Quarta, who can play both centre-back and full-back. But it's not a star-studded group, but it's all good defenders. And playing at international level, especially in South America, the lack of height with Lisandro Martinez is not exploited. So he doesn't get picked on the way he will in the Premier League next season, the way he does in the Champions League. But I think long-term, after this tournament, they could even look at shifting him to left-back. So they do have some other good centre-backs. Like, I think Balerdi's a good centre-back at Marseille. I think Nehuén Perez of Udinese is very good. There's the Anselmino kid that's going to Chelsea. He's really, really promising. It's a really good group of defenders. Midfield, they're loaded with talent. You've got Leandro Paredes, you've got Rodrigo de Paul, Ezequiel Palacios, Giovanni Lo Celso, Guido Rodriguez, Alexis McAllister, Valentin Carbone, who's very, very talented. Very, very talented. He's only a squad player, but he's someone to keep an eye on for the long haul. And Enzo Fernandez, who's, regardless of how he's done at Chelsea, he's a top player. And I mean, they've got others that will come through in the next couple of years. Well, I'd expect Carlos Alcaraz to get capped in the next year or two. Thiago Almada wasn't included in this squad. He was at the World Cup. Buenanote of Argentina, Valentin of Argentina of Brighton, Valentin Barco of Brighton. These are players that I think have big futures with the national team. And then they're just loaded in attack. Absolutely loaded in attack. You've got Messi, obviously, the greatest player of all time. You've got Angel Di Maria, probably his last hurrah with the national team. Nico Gonzalez is excellent. Lautaro Martinez is one of the best strikers in the world. Garnacho's a really, really good young player. And Julian Alvarez, who's phenomenal. And then not in the squad, you've got Angel Correa, Dybala, Lucas Beltran, Alan Valesco. Like, they're just on the cusp of something right now. Now, look, when Messi goes, it will drop the level. But a Julian Alvarez, Lautaro Martinez front two, long term, is really promising. A midfield that could be... Rodrigo de Paul is only 30. He's still got years left in him. Alexis may be back on the left like he was in the World Cup, and you bring Alan Varela into midfield next to Enzo. That's a really good team. Really, really good team. And then you've got a lot of good young players like Matthias Sula, who's going to be a star, Valentin Carbone. Argentina are going to be a force now for a long time. And it's great to see. A lot will depend on how long Scaloni decides he wants to stick with it. But I mean, why would he leave? Why would he leave? Look at the job he's done. Absolutely outstanding. I think Argentina win this game. I think they win it quite comfortably. The big question is over Messi's fitness. I think they could actually leave him out, rest him for the final, and still win this game by a couple of goals. I think Alvarez and Martinez up front is enough to beat Canada. I think they've got enough in midfield to control the game. Defensively, they've been strong. David obviously is a weapon. Davies is dangerous, but I still think they'll just have too much. It is a semi-final, so it's going to be tight. You wouldn't expect them to win 4-0 or anything, but I could see another 2-0 like we saw in the first game. So that's what I'll go with there. In the Euros, it is Spain versus France. Now, Spain, to me, have been the best team in the tournament so far. They obviously came out of Group B. They hammered Croatia. They beat Italy. They beat Albania. Whereas France have been one of the most disappointing teams. They beat Austria, courtesy of an own goal. They drew with the Netherlands 0-0. They drew with Poland with a penalty, 1-1. Then they beat Belgium 1-0, courtesy of an own goal. And then they beat Portugal on penalties after a 0-0. 3 goals. 3 goals in 5 games. Now, I suppose on the flip side, they would say, but how many have we conceded? And the answer is 1. And it was a penalty. So they haven't conceded a goal from open play, but no French player has scored a goal from open play. Like the 2 goals they did get from open play, the own goals, one was from a cross by Mbappe that took a very wicked deflection of Vober. Just hit him, it was very unfortunate. And the other one was a shot from Kolo Muani that was going a mile wide, but hit Vertonghen, who could do nothing about it and deflected it in. So France are basically playing for 0-0 every time. And will be probably quite happy with that. Now, do they believe they can go and win penalty shootouts against everybody? Maybe they do. Maybe they have that type of confidence. We know a couple of things about France. They've got a great goalkeeper, Mike Maignan. They've got extremely talented defenders in Koundé, in Saliba, in Theo Hernandez. I would be hesitant to put Dale Upamecano into that group, but Kanate is certainly in that group. The midfield is immensely gifted, with Tchouameni, obviously Kante still going. Camavinga is significantly better than Rabiot and should keep his place for the next game. And then you've got the likes of Rabiot, Zaire Emery and Fofana off the bench. And then in attack, you've got Mbappe. But then you've also got a group of forwards that aren't performing, and this is where part of the issue is. Marcus Thuram has been pretty poor in the tournament. Kolo Muani's been pretty poor in the tournament. Dembele's been pretty poor in the tournament. I think Griezmann's been pretty poor as well. We haven't seen much of Barcola or Coleman or Giroud, but I'm not sure what you're expecting from Ollie Giroud at 37, Kingsley Coleman after an injury-destroyed year, and Bradley Barcola at 21. There's so much talent, though, but for whatever reason, they have a manager who just doesn't want to play attacking football, doesn't want anybody to have any fun watching his team play. And they go up against Spain, who don't have anywhere near the talent. I mean, they've got decent goalkeepers. I really like Unai Simon. I think he's very good. Raya's decent. Romero's okay. But none of them are on the level of Mike Maignan. Defensively, Dani Carvajal is still trucking along, but he is 32 now and on the decline. Still playing very well. Robin Lenormand is good but not great. Nachos was always good but not great. He's now 34. Daniel Vivian is very unproven at this level. Only 3 caps. Grimaldo's really good, but he's not starting. Laporte is past his best. Jesus Navas is 38 years of age. And Marc Cucurella, who's coming off 2 poor seasons. But they're still good players, and they work really well. It's like the Argentine backline. They don't have anybody of the individual quality of Christian Romero. Obviously, Laporte was there when he was at his best. Carvajal, at his best, was every bit as of that level, but it works as a unit. They don't have the individual quality of France, but it works really well as a unit. The midfield is really good. I think Rodri and Ruiz have been brilliant together. You've obviously got Moreno as the kind of first option off the bench. You've got Zubimendi. You've got Baena if they need him. Fermin Lopez if they need him. They've lost Pedri to injury, which is a big blow. They've obviously lost Carvial and Lenormand to suspension as well, and that's where I have concerns for them. Nacho will come in for Lenormand, but Navas probably has to come in at right back, which is a concern. But the attack is really talented. Outside of Morata, who I'm not a big fan of, and Joselu, who's, he is what he is. But Ferran Torres is a good player. Nico Williams is a superstar in the making. Lamine Yamal is probably going to be the best player in the world someday. Oyarzabal is very, very good, and I don't know why Jose Perez is in the squad, but he is. But this team has a manager that enables them. They don't have the talent of France. They've got some elite talent, don't get me wrong, but they don't have the talent of France. But De La Fuente enables them and allows them to play an attractive, attack-minded brand of football, which is working wonders for them. And that's why, despite the suspensions to two players at the back, I'm going to pick Spain to win. I'll go 2-1 Spain, because I don't think France have 2 goals in them. 2-1 to Spain. And we'll be back after this. Right, welcome back. So, today I wanted to go over European transfers, just check in the big league, see what's taking place. But this got sent to me, and given the Copa Americas going on, I thought it was worth having a look and just being angry about the whole thing. This is from stake.com. This was done in conjunction with market research firm Censuswide. They asked more than 1,000 football fans from across South America to choose the best players of all time from the continent. Now, this is comedic, to say the least. Dida has been selected as the best South American goalkeeper of all time. Dida. He wouldn't get into the top 5 Brazilian goalkeepers of all time, but there he is anyway. In defence, Cafu at right back. I mean, understandably, Carlos Alberto's probably too far gone for too many people to be all that aware, but Javier Zanetti is by far the best South American right back of all time. At centre back, you've got Daniel Passarella, no problem there. Thiago Silva. Not even the best Brazilian centre back of the last 10 years. Marquinhos is. But if it has to be a Brazilian centre back, there are many who would get in over Thiago Silva. We'll just go with Aldair for starters. Roberto Carlos at left back, don't really have an issue with that. To be fair, I think that's a very good pick. They've gone with a box type of midfield. The 2 attacking midfielders I don't take any real umbrage with. They've gone with Maradona and they've gone with Ronaldinho. I think that's fair. Maradona would absolutely be in. Ronaldinho was the best player in the world for a time, so I think it's fair to have him in. The double pivot, though. I mean, Zico I don't have an issue with. That's one of the best Brazilian players of all time, so that's fine. And then Arturo Vidal has been picked to the team. Arturo Vidal isn't even the best South American midfielder of his generation. Like, Javier Mascherano was considerably better than Arturo Vidal. So that's a mess. But, I mean, Fernando Redondo is the best holding midfielder of all time. Clearly the pick there. And then up front, Messi, no issue. And no issue with Pele, though I would point out that does mean no or 9, and I would question how Pele gets in when clearly Pele and Zico are in on reputation in a lot of ways, because they're players from the 50s and 60s in Pele's case, the 70s, 80s in Zico's case. Maradona is late 70s, but 80s, 90s. Passarella, he's 70s, 80s. But, like, to go with Pele, which, fair enough, no question, he's one of the all-time greats. To not pick Carlos Alberto over Cafu if you're insistent on a Brazilian right back, even though Zanetti's the best right back that there's been from South America. It's just so strange. No R9, which I'm inclined to change the team, the shape, to get him in. No Luis Suarez. I think Ronaldo goes ahead of him. I think R9 goes ahead of him regardless, so, fair. Neymar, another big name, obviously left out, but no question Ronaldinho, a much better player. But then it comes down to, if you're picking a team, Maradona is in, Redondo would be in. It would have to be one of Zico or Ronaldinho that drops out to bring in R9, because I think you have to have R9 in the team. You drop Messi a bit deeper into one of those attacking midfield areas. I'm inclined to say you'd leave out Ronaldinho and go with Ronaldo. So, to improve this team greatly, we will have Zanetti at right back, Passarella and Aldair at centre back, Carlos at left back, Redondo and Zico, Maradona and Messi, R9 and Pele. But then it does leave the question of goalkeeper. And truthfully, there hasn't been a lot of great South American goalkeepers. There just hasn't been. I mean, Rene Higuita, more known as a lunatic than a goalkeeper. Claudio Bravo has a case. Certainly a very good goalkeeper. Mondragon of Colombia in the 90s. He would be certainly worth a mix. Hugo Gatto, the great Argentine goalkeeper. Or Hugo Gatti, he'd be in. Taffarel, certainly better than Dida. Ubaldo Filho, another great Argentine goalkeeper. Guillermo dos Santos Neves, great Brazilian goalkeeper. He'd have to be in. But I'm inclined to say it's Jose Luis Chilavert, the Paraguayan, because he was a great goalkeeper. His goalkeeping exploits were overlooked because people got all caught up in him scoring free kicks and penalties and all the rest. But he genuinely was a great goalkeeper. So I'm inclined to go with him as my goalkeeper. Don't know if he got much in the way of votes in this. It does give mention of Dida being first, Claudio Bravo second, and Rene Higuita third in the voting. At right back, Dani Alves was second, Javier Zanetti was third. Zanetti was better than both. Left backs, it was Roberto Carlos and then Marcelo. I think Marcelo shouldn't be in that conversation. Passarella's a no-brainer. Let's see, actually we have the top five here. So goalkeepers, Chilavert was fourth in the voting. He should be one. Zanetti was third rather. He should be number one. Left back, Nilton Santos. If it wasn't Carlos, it would be him. Thiago Silva was the highest vote getter among all centre-backs, which is mental. Aldair is not even in the top 8. Carlos Gamera got votes. Elias Figueroa got votes. No issue there. Walter Samuel. Walter Samuel, absolutely a much better centre-back than Thiago Silva. Figueroa might be the one to go with actually over Aldair. I'll stick with Aldair though. And central midfield. This is brilliant. Zico, Vidal, Socrates, Nobby Solano, who didn't play in central midfield, Roberto Acuna, Elio Cesar Romero, Jose Velasquez, and Varea of Uruguay. Madness. Wingers, Ronaldinho over Maradona. Just consider that for a second. Ronaldinho over Maradona. Mental. Neymar third, Vinicius fourth. Rivaldo in seventh. Vinicius with more votes than Garrincha. Neymar with more votes than Garrincha or Rivaldo. Absolutely unbelievably foolish, some of these votes. My team is definitely better than that. Right, let's jump around the European leagues and see what's what. So we're going to start in Portugal just because it's what I have in front of me. Gil Vicente, they signed Felix Correa, and the only reason I'm mentioning this, because I'm not going to do all the clubs. The only reason this is interesting is because if you remember a few years ago, Manchester City and Juventus did a very strange move where two players that were, I think, valued in and around the 2 to 3 million mark were sold for over 10 million. And the player who left Man City to join Juventus was Felix Correa. Now, since joining Juventus in the summer of 2000, he's had a loan to Parma, a loan to Maritimo, and a loan to Gil Vicente, and he's now been sold for £1 million, 9 million less than he moved for 4 years ago. Which just, opens up reasons to question how real a lot of these transfers were. The player that went the other way was Pablo Moreno, who lasted 2 years at City. City let him go on a free 2 years into a 4-year contract, during which he'd had a year on loan at Girona and not done a whole lot. He spent a year at Maritimo, and he's now playing for FC Andorra, which is the club owned by Gerard Piqué. Very, very odd. They play in the 3rd division in Spain. That's where his career has gone. And he was a player that apparently Man City paid 10, 11 million for. This was bookkeeping shenanigans at its finest. Let's see. Aroca, no. Ferenz, no. Familkiak signed Gil Diaz from Stuttgart. He's a decent player. Boavista, no. Rio Ave. Ole Pullman from Dortmund, talented young midfielder. Benfica signed Pavlidis from AZ Alkmaar, where he had a really good year last year, consistent goal scorer. Benjamin Rollheiser has arrived from Estudiantes in Argentina, a very talented winger. They signed Alvaro Carreras from Manchester United, the left back. Rafa Silva left. He went to Besiktas. Juan Bernat, his loan ran out. Angel Di Maria, his contract expired, and they have not renewed it. That's pretty much it for them. Moving on to Braga, they signed Thiago Helguera, really, really good young midfielder. Uruguayan, was at Nacional. They've paid about $3.5 million for him. João Marquez from Estoril, he looked good last year. That's pretty much it of note there. What else we got? Porto. They bought back Francisco Conceição, son of Sergio Conceição. They'd sold him to Ajax last year. It didn't really go all that well from there, but he's still very highly regarded. He's now in the Portuguese national squad, obviously. Mehdi Taremi left. He's gone to Inter. And Pepe, his contract has expired. So we'll see where he goes next. Sporting, they signed Vladan Kovacevic from Rakow. He is a Bosnian goalkeeper. They signed Zeno de Bast, which I think is one of the best signings of the summer so far, from Anderlecht. They sold Paulinho. He went to Toluca in Mexico, and they sold Fatua to Leicester for 17 million. Leicester have made Caleb Okoli, the Italian centre-back from Atalanta, their latest signing today. Moving to the Bundesliga. Bayer Leverkusen signed Alex Garcia from Girona. They signed Belishian, the young French striker from Rennes. And that is their business thus far. They lost Stanisic. Obviously, his loan ended, and they've loaned out Noah Mabamba, who's a big-time talent. Fosu Mensah, remember when he came through at United, he was very highly regarded? He just left on a free, having not really played for years. Stuttgart, now they've been harvested. So they lost Ito, he's gone to Bayern. Anton, he's gone to Dortmund. Guirassy is going to Dortmund. In the door, they've got Voltemat, Deal, and Kittel coming in on frees. They're all pretty young. They've signed Anthony Rouault from Toulouse, really good young centre-back. The United Sturgeon from St. Gallen, really good young centre-back. Jeff Chabot from Cologne, decent. Squad player, I'd say. And Jamie Luling from Berlin, Union Berlin, is a talented right winger. So they've got a lot of work to do to try and keep up with what they did last year, but it's not going to be easy for them when the bigger clubs are just coming in and handpicking their players. Bayern Munich, obviously they signed Michael Olise, which I think is going to be one of the signings of the summer. They signed Ito from Stuttgart. They signed Brian Saragossa, the winger from Granada. He's very talented. So if they've got him and Olise on opposite wings and then Musiala as the 10, that could be very, very fun. They signed Iran Kunda, the young Australian from Adelaide United. You've probably seen the videos of him. He shoots incredibly hard. Yeah, that's him. And Armindo Seed coming in from Greuther Fürth. They also signed Eric Dyer for some reason. Malik Thielman went to PSV on a permanent deal. Leipzig. Ouedraogo comes in from Schalke. And Martin van der Voort, that was a deal they'd done a couple of years ago, the goalkeeper coming in from Genk. He's hugely promising. Angelino left for Roma. Dortmund, they've got Anton in, Guirassy is to follow. Pullman is the only notable departure thus far. Although Marius Wolf and Mats Hummels and Marco Reus all left when their contracts ended. Obviously, Maatsen and Sancho, their loans came to an end. Eintracht Frankfurt made the Ekatike deal permanent. They signed Can Uzan. He's really highly regarded. Another young kind of German Turk, expected to, I think, play for the Turkish national team, but there's probably going to be a bit of a battle over him. Has he made any decisions? No, he has. He's been capped at senior level by Turkey. Now, it was a friendly, so he can go back. But you add him to Arda Güler and Kenan Yildiz, and all of a sudden that could be a very, very fun Turkish attacking line. But yeah, another one of those German-born Turks. Christian Litzis came in from Ferencváros. He's another one that's really highly thought of. 19-year-old Hungarian. and they got Robin Cochrane free from Leeds. Hoffenheim, Lucas Peterson, no, he's just been promoted. Heidenheim, no. Werder Bremen signed Skelly Alvaro. Quite excited about that one. And Kike Top, who I don't know, who's a youngster from Schalke. Freiburg, they signed Aaron Dinkshi from Werder Bremen, the big blow. And Osterheg has come in from Bochum. He looked good last year. Augsburg signed Kevin Schlotterbeck, older brother of Miko. Christian Jakic as well. Wolfsburg, they signed Camille Grabara from Copenhagen. That one was done a few months ago. They loaned in Mohamed Amari. It looks a really good player. And Marius Mora's gone there as well to be the backup keeper. Mainz, Keishu Sano from Kashihima Antlers. Borussia Mönchengladbach. Tim Kleindienst from Heidenheim. And Philipp Sander from Holstein Kiel. Don't think either of them are going to really move the needle all that much. Laszlo Benez has joined he's joined Union Berlin from Hamburg. And that is pretty much it in terms of stuff being relevant. On to Serie A. Inter Milan. Davide Frattesi, he was there on loan last year. They've made the obligation to buy complete. Joseph Martinez, the Spanish goalkeeper from Genoa, they've nabbed him. Carlos Augusto, left-sided midfielder from Monza, he's a really good player. It's a good get. They've made the Arnautovic deal permanent. They've also signed Zielinski on a free. They've signed Mehdi Taremi on a free. And they are being linked to Ricardo Rodriguez, Davy Klaassen, Juan Cuadrado, and Alexis Sanchez have all left the club at the expiration of their contracts, as has Stefano Sensi, who I think is a really good player. He just struggles with fitness. That's the big issue with him. That's a shame. I hope he lands somewhere good this summer. Milan have signed Alex Jimenez, a young right back from Real Madrid's academy. They've sold Nketiah, they've sold Krunic, Caldara, and Giroud have left on freeze. Juventus have signed Douglas Luiz. They've signed Michele De Gregorio, who's a really good goalkeeper. Big upgrade for them there. Kefren Turam should be done in the next day or so. And beyond that, then we'll wait and see what else they do. Obviously, Illing Jr. is gone to Villa. Borenci has gone to Villa. Moise Kean has gone to Fiorentina. Kone de Winter has gone to Genoa. We'll come to that. And Kian George, when they signed him, they made a big deal of it. He's gone to Cruzeiro. Rabiot and Alexandro are out of contract, and Carlos Alcaraz's loan expired. Atalanta have signed Ben Godfrey, Nketiah, and Nicolo Zaniolo on loan, which could be an interesting one. They've sold Okoli to Leicester. Duvan Zapata made his move to Torino permanent. And Palomino's contract expired. He'd been there a long time. Emil Holm, who was in and played a decent enough role for them, in on loan, his loan expired. They decided not to pick it up. So he's moved on to Bologna, who've also made the Remu Freuler deal permanent. They've signed Odgaard from Alkmaar and Naim Biar from Reims Academy. They've sold Arnautovic, sold Lewis Binks, both of them have been on loan. And then obviously there's the Xerxes and Calafiori things. We'll see what happens with them. Roma signed Angelino, and they sold Andrea Bellotti, who went to Como. Rui Patricio and Leonardo Spinazzola had their contracts expire, and the loans of Sanchez, Huijsen, Loriente, Lukaku, Christensen and Osman all expired. Lazio, they've signed Tijani Noslan from Hellas Verona. It's a good one. signed Guendouzi on a permanent deal after his loan, and they've signed Luem Chuala, who I'm not overly familiar with, from Salernitana. Carlos Alberto left, Luis Maximiano left, and Raul Moro all gone. Fiorentina signed Moise Keane. Cochran left. He's well past his best anyway. That's pretty much it. Torino signed Duvan Zapata after the loan. They signed Adam Messina as well. Decent player. Napoli, Diego De May left on a free. Zielinski left on a free. Hamad Traore and Dendonker's loans expired, and so far they haven't done anything. So we'll wait and see. Buongiorno of Torino has been linked. We'll see if that will happen. Genoa have signed Vitinha, Colin De Winter, who was there on loan, Morton Thorsby, and Emil Bohinen, which is a good one, from Salernitana. They've sold Martinez. They've got to find a new goalkeeper. I think the spoofer with the catchphrase had mention of a goalkeeper. Kevin Strootman's contract expired, and a load of loans expired, including the Vitinha and De Winter ones that they made permanent. Monza have signed Kyriakopoulos, a Greek midfielder from Sassuolo, and Amori Forson from United, who was really, really highly regarded. That's pretty much it of note. Como's an interesting one, though. They've signed Alberto De Sena from Cagliari, Belotti, and it looks like they might get Varane. So they're being aggressive on promotion. La Liga. Atletico have not signed anybody. They've had a load of players who were on loan come back, and they've sold Caglar Sionchu to Fenerbahce, and Gabriel Palista left on a free to go to Besiktas. Hermoso, Memphis, and Vitolo all in a contract. Barcelona have not signed anybody as yet. They've just promoted Hector Ford to, I think, long-term they view as the right-back. Mickey Elfay, who I think long-term they view as a centre-back starter for them. And Mark Casado, who should get an opportunity in defensive midfield. They've all been promoted. They've sold Chadi Riyad. They've sold Mark Way. They've sold Pedrola. And then they've loaned out Serginho. No, they've given Serginho Dest away on a free. Having spent a significant chunk of money to buy him, they've given him away on a free, which is interesting. Sergio Roberto and Marcos Alonso without contracts now. Real Madrid, Endrick in, Mbappe in. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, they have lost Joselu. They sold him. Nacho Fernandez, Tony Cruz, and it remains to be seen yet with Vasquez. I assume he'll be back. And I think, obviously, Luka Modric will be back as well. Real Betis signed Chadi Riyad and then immediately sold him to Palace. They signed Mark Roca, Roman Perot, who was at Southampton, and Iker Losada. William Jose has left. Juan Miranda has left. Claudio Bravo has left. He's 41 now. And Guido Rodriguez has left, and I'll be curious to see where he goes, because he's still a good player, more than capable of playing in any of the top 5 leagues. So, curious to see where he lands next. Sevilla have done nothing of note. Real Sociedad, they've promoted Arambaru, making him a full-time first-teamer, giving him a new contract. Kieran Tierney, Andre Silva, they were there on loan. Those loans have expired. Alvaro Jallo has joined Athletic Bilbao from Braga. It's a good signing. Paid good money for him. That's pretty much going to be... Unai Nunez, gone from Athletic Bilbao to Celta Vigo, is interesting, and they've obviously let Strand Larsen join Wolves. Valencia, nothing of note. Villarreal, nothing of note. Getafe, Rayo Vallecano, Mallorca, Girona. They've brought in Abel Ruiz and Ladislav Krejci, and they've lost Alex Garcia, and obviously they lost Savio as well. Curious to see if they can, or what they can put together after last season, because obviously they overperformed last season to a huge amount. In France, then we will do them last, and that'll do us for today. PSG signed Stefanov, the Russian goalkeeper, who's excellent. Sold Ekatike, lost Mbappe, so definitely a net loss. Monaco signed Thilo Carrère, and they lost Wissam Ben Yedder, whose contract expired. I wonder where he'll go next. He's still definitely capable of banging in goals. Always underrated. Nobody there. Lille signed Ethan Mbappe, Adam Yunus, Yasiki, Ivan Cavallero. They all left on freeze. Nice signed Morgan Sanson and Tanguy Ndombele. Sanson had been there on loan, hadn't he? Lyon had been busy. They signed Niakate from Forest, made the Mangala deal permanent. They signed Nuama, who was there on loan last season. They made the Benrahma deal permanent. They signed Abnar. They signed Mame Balde. And they signed Duje Kaleta Carr. Yeah. That's a big loss for Southampton on that deal. Big loss. They sold Alvaro, and that's pretty much the only notable departure. Rennes signed Joner Chavez, left back from Bahia in Brazil. He's Colombian. Marseille have signed Ismael Kone. They've signed Babo Miete of Lorient, who's very, very good. They've sold Iliman Ndiaye, sold Vitinha, sold Guendouzi, and Pape Guy left on a free. It's unusual. Does he have a contract? He must have been. He's a good player. Reims have done nothing of note. Rennes have done nothing of note other than sell two more very highly regarded young players. Toulouse signed Charlie Cresswell from Leeds. I like that one. I like that move for him. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Montpellier, Strasbourg, they signed Oscar Pereira from Atlético Nacional in Colombia, left winger. Pape Dion coming in from a club in Senegal. This is the club obviously owned by Chelsea, so we'll see how they do in the coming months. They've lost Andre Santos and Angelo, who were there on loan last year. We'll see if they come back. Nantes have signed Matthias Ablin. And that is pretty much our lot in France as well. Yeah, that's pretty much us. Right, that's going to do it. I'll be back after the break. Right, welcome back. So, we're just going to do the news and gossip. Everton have rejected an increased offer from Manchester United of, I think, 45 million plus 5 million in add-ons for Jared Brantwaite. Everton are adamant they're not going to do business for less than 70 million, which I think is absolutely their priority. So I think it's fair that he stays there unless United make the right offer. Transfer news. So an odd one. Paul Joyce tweeted earlier, or reported earlier, that Everton had reached agreement with Hull for Jadon Philogene, and then a local Hull journalist said, well, no, they haven't. That's not true. But then David Ornstein appears a few minutes later and says that Ipswich have an 18 million deal to sign Philogene, 5-year contract in place. He's set to pick Ipswich and do his medical this week. Aston Villa had matching rights and were going to activate, but it sounds like the player has asked them not to, that he wants to go to Ipswich. That's a really good get if Ipswich can get that across the line. It also looks like they're going to get Liam Delap done. So a fee of 15 million and 5 million in add-ons. 21-year-old England youth international. Liam Delap is highly regarded. He'd been on loan at Hull, I think, last season. Southampton had also agreed a fee for him, but he's decided he wants to go to Hull. Wants to go to Ipswich, rather. So if they land him, that's him, Philogene, and Jacob Greaves potentially out of that Hull team last season. It's clever. It's clever getting players that are familiar with each other. And if they get Delap, Philogene, and they got Omari Hutchinson, that's 3 really exciting young attacking players to go into their team. And it's great to see the ambition from them. I mean, they're being properly aggressive in this market. Let's see, what else do we have here? Craig Bellamy has been appointed as the new manager of Wales on a 4-year contract, which puts to shame the shenanigans around the Irish manager's job, which still is not filled. We'll do the gossip and we'll be done. Arsenal and Manchester United are ready to compete for the signing of Mark Guehi, who is set to reject a new offer of a contract at Crystal Palace. United are expected to meet Joshua Zirkzee 34 million release clause to sign the 23-year-old from Bologna. United are still deliberating whether to trigger the release clause or negotiate a higher fee that will allow payment by instalments. My guess is that's what they'll do. Mason Greenwood is set to join Marseille on a permanent deal. Arsenal are hoping to complete the signing of Ricardo Calafiori this week. It seems like they're quite a way apart on price at the moment, but we'll see. Manchester United are considering a surprise move for Ben Chilwell. No, they're not. Nonsense. Barcelona president Joan Laporte says the club are in position to afford Nico Williams. Fair play. I think that will happen. Tottenham are exploring a player plus cash deal for Jacob Ramsey with Giovanni Lo Celso heading the other way. Lo Celso has played for Emery. It would make sense, but they'd be mad to sell. Absolutely mad to sell Ramsey. Belgian club Bergshot want to sign Scottish midfielder Ewan Henderson and English winger DiMarzio Wright Phillips, who's just left Stoke. Stuttgart are planning to make a new bid for Dennis Undav. Tottenham are confident of keeping Mikey Moore despite interest from PSG and Real Madrid. Luton are among the clubs interested in Michelin midfielder, I can't even consider pronouncing that first name, Makawa, who is eligible for Belgium and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Leeds are expected to sell Jorginho Rutter, Wilfred Gnonto and Crescencio Somerville this summer. I don't think they'll sell all 3. Bayern Munich need to sell players before they can sign anybody, with Kingsley Coman, Matthias de Ligt, Liam Goretzka, Joshua Kimmich, Serge Gnabry and Alphonso Davies among the candidates to leave. But Davies, I think, definitely will leave. I think de Ligt will go to United, and then, I mean, frankly, I think they'd be well served selling all of those players if they can. Nice and France defender Jean-Claire Todibo wants to join Juventus. Sevilla are interested in signing Saul. Former Wolves captain Danny Bath is back at the club training with the under-21s after leaving Norwich. Was he? He was Wolves captain before Connor Cody, wasn't he? I think so. I think he was Wolves captain before Connor Cody. Yeah, fair. Right, that'll do it for today, folks. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Sports Social Podcast Network.